Hey KidZone team, this is the specific video that goes over a lot of stuff on being a leader here at KidZone. So if you watched the video already on just the orientation stuff, being a leader here at KidZone, this is about the first step in being a leader, okay? So maybe you are an adult that is serving on a Wednesday night and being a small group leader. Maybe you are even a teenager that is in 8th or 9th grade that is stepping up and saying, you know what, I really feel like this is my time. I'm gonna step up, I'm gonna start investing into being a leader. This is gonna be applicable for all of it. And I really want you to hear and take in as much of this as possible because this is going to set you up for success in being a good leader in KidZone, but also just being a good leader in life. So the first thing I want to just talk to you about is what is your role as a leader? I'm going to make this really clear and simple for you. Your role as a leader is to serve others. When we hear leader sometimes we immediately think, I am commanding people. People are going to listen to me when I tell them what to do. And sometimes that is what happens, but our goal overall, our first goal has to be to serve others. Now, I want to talk to you about how this fits into the leadership flow. Because if you remember, we talked about in the orientation video a few areas and specific things that we need to have as a leader. Remember, we need to have somebody above us. We need to be taking what they give us and cultivating that and listening to it. And then we need to be passing that on to the next person. So I want to talk about what that specifically looks like for you. So you're a mentor or your coach. This person is either going to be your service coordinator or maybe a team leader if you're on the weekends, or could even be your KidZone director. But this is somebody that you're going to want to check in regularly with, somebody that you're going to want to talk to. Even if you feel like, I don't know that they have much that they can give me, they still believe in you and they still want to be there for you. So make sure you communicate with them regularly, even if you feel like they're not communicating with you. What you want to do is be able to ask them questions, go to them regularly, and be able to form a good working relationship that will inevitably help you to be able to grow in your character and your relationship with God. And this is something that God honors as we try to cultivate. Now, even if they're just giving you tasks or it doesn't feel like they're necessarily having conversations with you about how you can grow in your character or grow in other types of ways, these are specific things that you want to start to listen to, that you want to look at, and you want to take to heart. But the most important thing is you want to start to take those things and you want to start to give those out to the people that you are leading. Those people, primarily whenever you're serving as a leader, are the kids right below you, which is amazing. And this is exactly what we want to see happen. This is why we have a kids commitment first, is because we want to be taking all of those things and being able to give it down to kids. Now, you will from time to time be working with an assistant leader, somebody that you yourself are pouring into. And what I want to talk to you about specifically now is how you can help pour into them and develop them with something called the CAT method. Okay, this doesn't actually involve cats, but it's an acronym that helps, okay? And it stands for context, appreciation, text message, okay? Now, this is something that I've been doing for a few years, and this is something that works, especially if you're wondering, how do I communicate with people that are younger than me? Or how do I communicate with people that are different than me that I don't fully know what to do? This is going to help you out and set you up for some good success. So, context. This is something that honestly we got from some of the practices and ideas that a lot of therapists and psychologists use, which is essentially just trying to get as much context and listen more than we talk. So what happens most of the time is we see a problem, we'll go up to somebody and we'll be like, hey, I don't think you have a good attitude. Well, we kind of just jumped the gun there a little bit, because you might have some people that are serving with you that are maybe even right below you that you're like, hey, you need to just have more energy, or you need to have more. And really what we need to do most of the time is get context. So what I'll do most of the time with the team whenever I'm seeing issues is I'll ask one of them if we can talk real quick. I'll take them over to a side of the room that's still public, but gives us enough privacy to be able to have a conversation. But I'll ask them, I'm like, how do you feel about this? What are your thoughts? What do you see? Do you think this is good? Do you think this is bad? I will try to get as much context from them. Even, hey, how are you feeling today? Getting as much context as possible helps you to be able to develop other people and to be able to be there for them. But what can be really easy is as soon as you feel like you see the problem is to immediately jump on it and be like, this is wrong, this is why it's wrong, you need to show up and you need to be better prepared. And sometimes those are conversations that need to be had. But what was interesting was in a study done by Dr. Cloud, he noticed that there was some interesting stuff that was happening with people that were appreciating their team members versus people who weren't. Now, this is moving into the second part. We talked about context. Now we're going to talk about appreciation. What he noticed was the people that perform highest on teams actually receive a ratio of 6 compliments or six ways of appreciation to every type of one level of criticism. So that means that the people who were doing really good, that were performing to their best on a team, were hearing, hey, you're doing a good job. You're doing great. I'm proud of you. I'm so glad you're doing this. You are such a big asset to this team. And man, where would we be without you? Hey, also, this is on the criticism side. Hey, do you think maybe you could start doing it like this? Whenever we're in that 6-to-1 ratio, we actually, what they realized in that study was that the way that your brain actually receives information is that it needs to be in that 6-to-1 ratio to even be in the right type of state to be able to hear things and to be able to receive them and do something with it. Because what happens most of the time is they realized that people who were performing at their lowest were receiving the inverse. They were receiving one compliment, one thing of appreciation for every six negative things that they were hearing. So what happens most of the time is that people don't get appreciated, or only some people get appreciated. And here's the reality. In a completely different study, they realized that 80% of people that leave any type of team, whether they're being paid or volunteer, 80% of the reason why they left was because they were underappreciated, which is crazy to think about. 80% of the reason why people would leave, because 20% was maybe, you graduate, family moved, got a new job. 80% of the reason why people will leave is because they are undervalued and underappreciated. It means so much to the development of your team, to the people that you lead, whenever you are able to invest in them with some positive affirmation. And whether or not you're thinking to yourself, like, I have to come up with 6 compliments for some people, it's so important that you take that information and you say, okay, this is not just something that somebody wrote down in some kind of a study. This is also the type of life-giving words that we're supposed to have, that Jesus had for his disciples, that we're supposed to have for people as well. So remember, we're at context, appreciation. Remember that 6-to-1 ratio. And the last one is text message. Anytime, whether you have a good or a bad conversation with somebody on your team, if you're able to reference back to that conversation the same day or the next day if it was a later night, and you're able to say something of, hey, I just want to reiterate again, we're so glad you're on this team. It means so much, and it keeps it going and opens up a completely new avenue of communication for you and that team member. So remember the CAT method: context, appreciation, text message. This is really helpful and will help you grow as a leader. And this is something that you can use not just in KidZone, but in any context where you might be a leader or be functioning in some type of leadership capacity. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about is just a brief warning that I want you to keep aware of, okay? Because whenever we start performing really highly as a leader, what happens most of the time is we're not really thinking and we're not really planning. What I want you to think about as you are actually stepping into a leadership position or stepping up into a leader role is wanting to plan as much as you perform. What I mean by performance by the times that you're here, you're showing up, you're doing a great job. What I want you to be able to do is to plan just as well. That means thinking ahead and thinking and going, okay, I am maybe serving 3 or 4 days in a row because of some specific stuff that's happening with KidZone. Maybe I need to take a day off. Maybe to function at my highest capacity, I just need to talk to my leader and let them know in advance that this might be a little bit much. Those are good conversations and good things to have, because in order for you to be the best leader, you need to plan and you need to think ahead in order to be at your highest level and your highest capacity, because we don't want to burn anybody out. We want to see you grow in your skills, in your character, and your relationship with God. I can't wait to see how you grow and you develop as a leader, because it's not just needed for our KidZone team, it's needed for you and the call that God has on your life.